Are you currently in the process of buying a house and wondering how much you should offer on that house? You've probably heard stories about friends and family members putting in offers on homes, having to go way above the asking price against multiple offers, and in some cases pay more than the home's appraised value. In this video, we're actually going to dive into the process that I go through when helping my clients decide on how much to offer on a home from a real estate agent 20 years of experience with boots on the ground, somebody making offers all the time and helping guide clients in this crazy market. Now, before we get started here, I want to be completely transparent. This isn't going to be a one size fits all approach. Each situation is going to be a little bit different in how you structure the offer, depending on, the things that are important to you, so on and so forth. So just keep that in mind when we're going through the processes. These are the steps that I take when helping my clients come up with what we feel is a fair and reasonable price when making offers on property. Before we get started on how much we can decide to offer on a property, the first thing we need to do is figure out how the home is priced. Is it underpriced? Is it priced at fair market value? Or is the seller trying to swing for the fences and overpricing the home? How are we going to determine that? We're going to start by reviewing the comparable sales of homes on that property. What does that actually mean? It means that we're going to go out and try to find similar homes in the same neighborhood. Properties that have the same bedroom, the same bathroom count, some, that have similar square footage, lot size. Now, if this is a tract, it's pretty easy to do because you can go find model matches that have sold and something to compare it to. But if this is a more rural area, this is a little bit more difficult because each property is a little bit different in land size and all of that good stuff. So obviously going to be a little more difficult in rural areas versus, areas that are more suburban. But, I'm in a suburban market, and typically what we do is we try to find similar properties. And again, we're trying to find properties that have similar upgrades on them as well. And once we have an idea of the value of where comparable properties have sold, that gets us started on deciding how much we can offer on this property. Before we go any further though, I want to ask a favor. If you find any value in this content at all today, hit that thumbs up, hit the subscribe for more real estate related content. Now, the very next thing that we do after we determine how the property is priced is we actually look at what the market's been doing with regards to appreciation. Remember, most of the closed comparables in the multiple listing service, wherever it is that you're looking, those properties went into escrow 30 to 45 days prior to them actually closing. So when you're looking at closed comparables in the MLS, we're looking at when they closed, and then we're actually going back about 30 days. What's happened in the market in the last 30 days? Now, over the last couple of months, what we've seen is month over month appreciation. Some months we've seen 3 to 4% appreciation month over month. Now, that's crazy and not normal, but we do have to determine, is the market continuing to climb? Is it moving sideways? Has it gone down? Because that's going to help us determine how much we should offer on a property over the last comparable sale sold. For example, if we had a recent sale of a model match property that recently sold at $800,000 for purposes of our conversation here today, and we know it just closed, within the last couple of days, what we do is we go back about 30 days. What happened in the market about 30 days ago? Well, the market was appreciating, say, 2% at that time. Well, we know that's about $16,000. Is that still the case today? Yeah, still the case today. Well, what we do is we take that $800,000 and say, okay, the market appreciated about 2% since that property went into escrow more than 30 days ago. That means, the next one coming on the market's probably valued somewhere around $816,000. So that gives us an idea of what the properties may be worth with that appreciation factored in. Now, if the market had moved sideways, then maybe we're just taking that $800,000 and say the new one is the value is going to be somewhere in the ballpark. Or maybe if you're in a market where prices have declined, then you're factoring maybe a small decline in prices since that last comparable sold. Now, what I will say, in the market that we're in right now, I haven't really seen any depreciation. Now, I will say that people are reaching out to me saying that we're seeing price reductions in markets and so on and so forth. Yeah, you might be seeing price reductions on homes, but typically it's when homes are priced over fair market value. They're not priced correctly to start with. Most homes, at least here in Southern California, that are priced correctly are still moving and going into escrow. And so if nothing else, you're taking that last comparable sell and using that as your basis for a price versus any decline at this time. So in our example here, we said that the property was worth around $816,000 based on the last comparable sale and where appreciation is gone. The very next thing we do, or that I'm going to do once I have that number, is I'm going to reach out to the agent on the other side. I'm going to have a conversation with that agent to try to find out as much information about how they price that property as possible. Maybe the agent feels like it's priced a little bit high based on our conversation. Maybe she feels like it's, or he feels like it's fairly priced. Maybe they felt like they priced it low to get rid of it quickly. Now, this is going to give me an idea of what the seller is thinking on the other side, and is also going to help us in structuring our offer. At the same time, I'm trying to figure out from that agent what else is important to that client. Do they want a quick close? Is there anything they want specific in that offer? Now, I realize this doesn't have anything to do with price, but it's not always about price, right? Sometimes it's about more than price in how you write the offer. Sometimes sellers need a quick close. Sometimes, there's something they want to see in the offer versus the highest price. And so what we're trying to do is structure it as much and as close to what the seller's looking for so that we can get our offer accepted. Now, in my experience, one of two things happens when a buyer makes an offer on a property. If their offer gets accepted right to start with, no counter offer, nothing, they just get it accepted, that buyer is instantly going to wonder if they could have made a lower offer on the property. Did they overpay? Did they pay too much? Because the seller just accepted it. They didn't even come back to me. And immediately they're going to have some sort of buyer's remorse. The second thing that happens is if they find out that another buyer got their offer accepted and it was only $1,000 or a couple thousand more than they offered, they immediately think, well, I would have offered that amount, and have remorse of not offering more. So don't be too hard on yourself when making an offer. It can always go one of two ways, and keep in mind it doesn't necessarily have to be all about price. So just because they accepted an offer doesn't mean that just because you didn't offer that amount is the reason yours didn't get accepted. Sometimes it's about financing and some other terms in there, but don't beat yourself up when making an offer on a property. I always tell clients, submit an offer, especially in this market, that you're not going to have regrets about. Whether it's regrets about paying too much or regrets about paying too little, it's already an emotional process and a tough one. And when you start analyzing, why or why your offer didn't get accepted, or why, you weren't even countered back, you start to beat yourself up. In my experience, a lot of buyers are expecting the seller to come back to them and counter. And therefore, a lot of buyers don't want to put their best foot forward because they kind of want to hold something in the tank, if you will, to offer on the counter offer that comes back from the seller, right? They don't want to put their best offer forward and then the seller counters and they don't have any more ammo, if you will. So a lot of buyers approach it and say, hey, look, this is what I'm going to offer now, and if they come back and counter me, I'm willing to offer more. In this market, you have to expect that you're not going to get a counter. And the reason I say that is I'm putting in a lot of offers with clients, and a lot of these sellers are receiving multiple offers, and they don't want to respond back to 10 offers or 15 offers in some cases. So in many cases, they're just choosing the top 2 or 3 and countering those, and in some cases just accepting the top 1 without any counter at all. So you can't go in with the idea that you're going to get a counter. You have to go in with the idea that this is your best foot forward. This is the offer that you're going to make. And if the seller comes back and counters you, you can always come back with the same exact offer. You don't have to up it just because you're countered. Maybe you were the highest offer, but they decided to counter, the top 3 anyway. And if you were to stay where you were, maybe you're still the best offer. So just because you get countered doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. But if you don't get countered at all, then you're not even playing in the game. I mentioned a moment ago, make an offer that you're not going to have regrets about, not regrets of whether it gets accepted, and not have that remorse of being accepted, and or the regrets of it not being accepted, wondering what more you could have done in order to get your offer accepted. It's a tough market. Put your best foot forward, and that way you have no second guesses. Now, there are a couple other things that you can do to help your offer stand out outside of financing, right? A lot of buyers can't control their financing terms because maybe they don't have enough money for a 20% down payment, or a cash offer or what have you. So I'm not going to really talk about the idea of financing in this, but I have talked about some of these things before that you can help that you can do rather to help sweeten your offer, and that is lessen the escrow period, right? Instead of doing the typical 30 days, if the seller is wanting a shorter term escrow period, maybe you can shorten that period. Make sure you're talking with your lender prior to doing that and making sure they can meet the terms and obligations and all of that. Another thing you can do is you can shorten your contingency periods, right? You can shorten the appraisal, you can shorten the home inspection contingency periods, which means that you just get through that contingency period faster, and it helps the seller secure the deal knowing that you're going to move forward in that transaction. Another thing you can do is maybe waive some of the fees that the seller might be normally paying, like a home warranty, right? Maybe you can pay for the home warranty, or your buyer's agent can step up and pay that home warranty so that you're not paying it. And it just takes a little bit of fees off the seller, and maybe not negotiating the washer, the dryer, the refrigerator, all of that part of the original offer. Maybe you leave that out. And once your offer gets accepted, then you can start the negotiations on some of that stuff, just to make your offer a little bit cleaner, help it stand out. And also another thing you can do is an escalation clause. We've talked about this in the past. An escalation clause allows your offer to move up in price as other offers come in at higher prices, right? Maybe you structure an offer that, hey, you're willing to pay $815,000, but you're willing to pay $1,000 more than the highest offer up to $825,000. So that means if no offers come in above your $815,000, your offer is accepted. But if one came in at $820,000, then it would bump your offer up to $821,000 without you having to throw your best offer out there to begin with. So hopefully that video gave you an idea of how to structure your offer if you're thinking of writing an offer in this market. As I mentioned at the beginning, there's no one size fits all. Each property is a little bit different. How you approach it might be a little bit different depending on what the seller is looking for, how much available cash you have in order to offer on that property. Maybe you're looking to go above the asking price in some cases. Maybe you're looking to waive the appraisal or do something else in order to help your offer stand out. So each situation is going to be a little bit different, but hopefully that gives you a little bit of insight as to how to do it. But if you're considering buying a property, check out this video here where I talk about things that you should not do if you're considering buying a house in this market. But for now, I appreciate you taking the time to watch. I appreciate the support. Hope to see you again soon. Have a great day. Bye-bye.